The gunshot stopped late last night. The sun came up this morning, but it is not a good morning.
Okay, so if you didn't know, apparently the order was given yesterday to actually cull the ostriches in the farm in BC. This was a story that I never really paid much attention to be quite honest, because I didn't think it was a big deal. As I'm sure a lot of Canadians didn't think it was a big deal because it's only a couple of hundred ostriches. Apparently they were sick. I knew it reeked of a few tones from 2021 and 2022. There were some things that caught my eye that reminded me of some of the things that happened during the before time in the long ago. I sort of resigned myself at the point when I first heard about the stories that eventually they are going to do away with these ostriches. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what they were going to do, so I didn't really pay much attention to the story. And then some hope kind of came where we had some indigenous tribes come in and say not to slaughter the ostriches. So I had a little bit of hope there because the government tends to listen to them and bend to their will. And then I saw that they didn't. And then I saw yesterday or the day before, I saw where I think they actually gave the farm owners some evidence that the CFIA was actually culling these birds prior to the court actually ruling that yes, they can go ahead and do it. When I saw the video, the last count that I saw the video where they were handing the police, the RCMP, they were handing the RCMP the evidence saying that they are going to be filing this, saying that they are already doing this.
So here's this. I've been asked by the family to show you these pictures if you don't mind. It's what is on this stick. These are pictures.
So I have the memory stick here.
I'll take that. There's pictures taken from today. If you want to just take that and swipe left, or I can do it for you. And it's just showing that they're in breach of the stay order. Again, they're supposed to have custody. And there's also evidence here, again, that there's many missing birds. We've proven that over and over again, that birds are being either moved or killed. That picture's no good.
Within hours of that claim being filed, the judge ruled that the stay was no longer in effect and that the CFIA could go ahead and euthanize the animals.
Where all the birds are gathered right now, so you're looking at it, and we're bringing it to you live. Share it out, folks. This is happening live here in Edgewood, BC, a little bit after an hour after the Supreme Court struck down their application to be heard. The judicial system has failed them, and we, as the public, are here to hold them accountable.
When I saw that the animals, the supposed count was around 100, I didn't see much of the evidence. I'm sure it's out there. But when I heard that this was the case, and I had heard that it had been declining since the 300 some odd that was there in the very beginning, that, mind you, were never tested again after the fact. The judge actually ruled that they were not allowed to test them again, which is absolutely insane. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to say like, oh, well, it's just their ostriches, they were sick, whatever. That's the story that they probably heard. You cannot, like, expand this out to cows, expand this out to anything. Even people. And when it becomes people, imagine being one of those people that I had this flu, but I recovered, and you're still kept in quarantine, which, remember, they were setting up massive quarantine facilities. I know I think Australia was the only place to actually assemble them and actually have put people in them for like 3 weeks, which is insane. But can you imagine the case where an illness spreads? Again, this is precedent. They are setting precedent for this kind of stuff. And you get this virus and then you're quarantined, and then they're just trying to figure out if you're a danger. Well, you recover 2 or 3 weeks, you're recovered from the virus, and you're still kept in quarantine. You're like, wait, what's going on? And they're like, well, we're trying to decide what we should do with you because you could still pose a danger to the rest of the public. It's like, no, I'm healthy. I'm perfectly healthy. And they will decide, they can decide in the future to say, we are going to euthanize you because you could potentially pose a risk. Potentially. There are many cases where the avian flu has spread through chickens, birds. I know multiple people that own farms that have chickens that had a bout of avian flu. 1 or 2 of them ended up dying. The rest of them, totally fine. Absolutely 100% fine. You know, there was a point in time, I think, where they were worried that the government was going to come around and say, no, they got to go too. That never happened, thankfully. And for the judge to rule in this decision to say you cannot retest them to see if they still carry the virus. They clearly didn't, but they were never allowed to test them again. They refused, and they actually said, if you do an independent test, you will be fined $25,000 for each one that you test, which to me is crazy. Crazy. Why on earth would you do this? You did it to set a precedent. That is exactly what they did. Why would the CFIA go into this compound, cover all of the cameras up, and then slowly over time, the birds would dwindle and dwindle? This is a year after the initial quarantine for these birds. A year later. And now you're going to say, oh, all of a sudden they all started dying from this. And that's probably what the story is going to be. I'm sure mainstream media, if they even touch it, they had long avian flu, and it won't be that they euthanized them, which I think they 100% did. But the fact that they let them go ahead with this is absolutely crazy to me. And again, like I said, it sets the precedent. And I don't think the end goal is the punishment. I think the procedure is the punishment. I think having to go through it all, having to fight them legally, having to pay for the lawyers, having to pay for the courts, having to pay for all this stuff, that the government just gets to say, the taxpayers are going to pay for it, not us. It's not coming out of my pocket. The taxpayers pay for the government. The government pays the salary of the judge and the courts. It's a no-win situation for anybody. It's a shame. It's a real big shame. I feel really bad for these farmers. They didn't seem like, terrible people. I think some of the people around them were a little bit questionable. I saw people recording and stuff. They were a little bit skeptical, but I think Rebel News generally covers this stuff pretty fairly. It's a shame. It's a shame that they did this to the ostriches and the farm and the family. I think it's crazy. I think it sets a very dangerous precedent again.